Hi, I'm Matt Geiger. My goal is to get you the full, unbiased story on issues, not the liberal story or the conservative story. And that means sifting through the common talking points on both the right and the left. Both sides of the debate use a variety of studies and scientific opinions to try to prove their own views and conveniently miss any studies that contradict what they want to believe. The problem is that these studies can have wildly varying opinions and even directly contradict each other. To understand how to sift through these studies, some valid and some not so much, we need to understand how studies work and which ones we can trust. With studies, there's sort of a hierarchy of respect based on the journal that publishes the study. A scientific study that's picked up by one of the big journals like Science or Nature is given a lot more weight than one published in a less reputable journal. This isn't just all based on industry reputation, though. There are two really good reasons why these journals should be placed above the other studies. First, the importance of a journal is usually calculated based on the number of other published work that cites studies in that journal. So for example, if I publish a study that refers to another study in Nature, in a tiny way it ups the prestige of Nature. So the journals Science and Nature are looked upon highly because other studies find those studies useful and valid enough to refer back to them in the first place. The second reason that these journals get more credibility is because once studies are published, other scientists set out to recreate or disprove that study. That happens at a more robust level in one of the major journals. So now that we understand the value of journals, we can dive into the pivotal part of the global warming debate. That figure repeated over and over that 97% of experts agree that humans are causing global warming. On the other side of the aisle, they'll claim that there actually is no consensus. What I found based on multiple studies and reputable journals is a consensus in the range of 90% to 100% of scientists who specialize in climate change and have been published a number of times in major journals. Now, as you start looking at scientists who have published less, or scientists who are in fields just sort of related to climate change, that consensus drops to figures around the mid-70s or the mid-80s, depending on the study you look at. So it basically depends on whether you want to look at specific published experts or the entire scientific community, even if those scientists are only tangentially related to climate change. Now let's dig into what that consensus is even about. This can depend on the specific study or questionnaire cited, but in general, the consensus is about whether the Earth is heating up and humans are a significant factor. The wording's important, significant factor in that warming. So let's just iron out how the scientific community sits on a variety of issues. The Earth is heating up. No dispute there. Consensus among climate change scientists and related industry scientists. Carbon dioxide levels are increasing at an extremely rapid pace. Again, no dispute. Humans are a significant factor in that warming. This is the question that we've already talked about, and we have somewhere in the ballpark of 90 to 100% of published climate scientists, or about 3/4, a little more possibly, of less published scientists with specialties that's somewhat related to climate. Now we're getting into the hairier stuff. Scientists don't agree on how much of the warming is being caused by humans. Most climate scientists, though, think it's all or a majority. But there's a significant minority of climate scientists still that think that it's less than 50%. And then, of course, that allows me to say that there's not a consensus on whether the continued increase of greenhouse gases will have catastrophic consequences. Similarly, scientists are extremely split on the cost of global warming. We have scientific estimates anywhere from a loss in world GDP of 20% to a net gain from warmer temperatures. We just don't know what the impact will be, let alone whether or not it'll actually happen. And I think that may be the most important part to remember. There's just an incredible amount of uncertainty here. So the stakes are just massive. The risk of doing nothing and having the worst happen is just horrifying. But so is the risk of crushing our economy and taking immediate action, only to realize that our worst fears never would have materialized. That's probably why this is such a divisive issue and such a critical one for our country. Thanks for watching.